inspire, empower, grab your girls and soar a little higher. Unlock the fire in you, 'cause real women don't bitch, no. Real women don't, 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 real women don't bitch.
Hey, thank you for joining me on the Real Women Don't Bitch podcast. This is your proud host, August Crenshaw, aka Mrs. Raw, Real, and Relentless. I am the #1 advanced mental conditioning specialist for entrepreneurs because building mental muscle is necessary in order to implement successful business strategies. This show has been created for the woman who is not excuse-driven and needs help building a profitable business. I will be interviewing women from various fields who are willing to break the silence on struggles that specifically affect female entrepreneurs. Welcome to a show where I and guest speakers from time to time share our methods that help us beast our business no matter what is going on in our lives. Whether you are an online or brick and mortar business owner, this show is for you. We will hit every angle, personal, professional, and spiritual. Why? Because on any given day, you get hit with shit from a scenario involving one, more, or perhaps all of the above. It all impacts you and your mindset towards your business. I have made it my personal mission to provide a space where we dive deep into the BS we face on a day-to-day basis. Oh, God. Okay, we are starting off having too much fun again. You guys have got to understand something. Before I even start talking about this podcast episode, what's going on, I record for YouTube too. And unfortunately, me and my guests are friends, and we kind of got like these little weird quirky things that we're doing. And so we wanted to make sure that we came out like stars, like gold. So we did our whole spirit figure thing. And so, we got a couple of issues, but we're here. Okay.
I just realized people are just listening. It was like, why is there like a second of silence?
It's like, wait a minute. Is the episode, did they record it right? Is everything okay?
Did it start?
No technological glitches, people.
No.
So look, we're back. Hey, say hey, money.
Hey, ladies.
We here to get this party started right. Well, actually, we're here to make sure that it goes out with a bang.
That's true.
Because it's the last episode for now. For now, you pouty face, yes. We, my Imani, Aisha, and myself, we have been talking about marriage, business. What's the real deal for wifepreneurs? What does it look like building a business and dealing with the drama at home, specifically with your spouse and anything else that's intertwined in that? And we have been having a blast. We are on the 4th and final segment. Notice I said 4th and final, which means you need to go back to every week prior to this and chime in, because we've talked about everything from your business to your bedroom, from you being clothed to you being naked to you feeling disappointed to you getting support, the whole nine. And we've had real raw conversation. Those of you that follow me long enough, you know that I don't do sugarcoating, and I have the perfect guest on here with me, because if you're going to be a marriage coach, you got to talk about marriage stuff, right? So there it is.
Yep.
So we're back for segment 4. Want to give you some more wisdom. And this segment is called Work Your Biz at Home, but Don't Make Your Home a Business. Sounds like common sense, but how many of us do that effectively? I wish you guys could see her facial effects and the pointing. This is hilarious. Those of you on YouTube, you see this. But let me kind of give you the caption that she has below this. It says, discussing the big picture of creating a comfortable home environment with some grace. You're a beast in your business, but don't fall into the trap of treating your spouse like an employee or expecting them to be. if you want to stay connected through the realities of entrepreneurship. Let me say that last part again. If you want to stay connected through the realities of entrepreneurship. That was a mouthful. Take over.
I was like, I wrote it, but you hear it out loud. You're like, man, that was a lot. But the reality is that, and I love this one because really when we talked about doing this and we, spitballing ideas and we put this series together and we said, okay, it's going to be a 4-part series. I started thinking about, I wanted it to build upon it. So when, August says, go back, listen to the previous ones about time, support, and vulnerability and intimacy. This is kind of the culmination of that, right? Mm-hmm. Because the reality is that most entrepreneurs, unless you work in a co-working space, and even if you have, I know some folks who have brick and mortar entrepreneurial endeavors, mm-hmm. but their family's either always there or, something like that, or right. It still tends to intertwine in their life. But a lot of times you are your business, you're at this physical space, your home, but a lot of you are working it from home or a home office.
Yes. And
the lines can get really blurred, okay? Yes. Because you're at home, and just reality of compartmentalizing your stuff. When you work a traditional job, you're like, okay, I'm gonna be there from 8 to 4, 9 to 5, 10 to 6, whatever it is. And then you go home. Laundry doesn't happen at your job. The kids are not there with you unless you work at a daycare or something like that. But ultimately, you are able to compartmentalize stuff. It gets a lot more difficult to kind of do that when you're at home. I mean, it's just the reality. You're working something for your business, but you want to put a load of laundry in. You got your baby on your hip, trying to get them down for a nap so you can go, create your content or your landing page or whatever that the case may be. And so if you think about that, right, if you think like, okay, I'm in this mindset a lot, and we talked about how much you can be thinking about your job in the last segment, then when I'm talking to my husband, I'm talking to my spouse, how am I dealing with them? Am I delegating stuff? Am I saying, hey, you need to do this, because this is what I'm handling my business over here? And is that more of, for you, it's different. Like Larry made a conscious choice to work with you in your business, right? But for some people, like my husband, he has his own thing.
Right.
He doesn't, he doesn't work with me in that way. And for a lot of you, your spouses have their own thing too. And so they don't want to come home and feel like now they're your employee and that you're delegating things out to them. And so being able to communicate, like we talked about earlier segments, being able to understand and compartmentalize for this segment is going to really be key for you.
Right. I was just thinking about something before I got a handle on saying to Mr. Crenshaw, this is what I'm doing and this is how I need you to help me. When I was still trying to figure out how I was going to do all this stuff on my own, how was I still going to be a mother, a wife, and a business owner? One of the things that I remember doing was saying to myself, okay, you know what? If I'm going to do this, if I'm going to wash clothes, I'm like getting up at 4 o'clock in the morning. And during that time frame, like if I know that I'm going to go meditate at like 4:15, at 4 o'clock, I put a load of clothes in the washing machine. And then I go meditate. And when I come out of meditation, then I put those clothes in the dryer. However many, loads I get done, within that first 2 hours, that's all that gets done. And then I'm going to stop. Because when I do get into business mode, I don't want to think about anything else. And if I'm going to cook, I'm not cooking until 3 o'clock. I'm working until this amount of time and whatever that quick fix is. Or if I was going to put it on a crock pot so it could sit for 6 hours and do what it does. But I remember, and that was hard. Right? Because, you could say I'm not going to cook until 3, but you could be sitting there hurting trying to figure out a technological bamboo get on my nerves thing, and you could have been working on it from 12 to 2:20. You finally figured it out, and now that you got it, you don't want to stop. And then before you know it, you're creating and you're happy, and it's 5:30 and hubby's coming in the house and there is nothing to eat, and then there's this battle. And
I know that battle. That's a battle.
Look, take over, because it is a battle.
I'm like, I'm just feeling, that we could, so there's nothing, so we just not gonna eat. So we just.
Why you couldn't tell me? You couldn't call me or text me first so that I could stop and get me some. Well, I mean, did you understand? If you knew what I was going through here, trying to figure out, and so it becomes, nitpickish.
Yep.
With what you have going on. And that's that blurred line. I mean, I'm sure there are other examples that you have, but that's that blurred line. I'm at home and I'm working my business, and my business and my home, all of it's the same thing. Mm-hmm. And I'm losing sight, and I'm mad, and I don't want to talk to you. Don't let your foot touch me under the covers.
Don't you push your pinky on my pinky. Trying to feel the waters. Are you still mad? Mm-hmm. But it's and that's real what you said, and you do get in the zone, but you mentioned exactly, and it's what I do, and I'm sure it's what you do. If I'm in the zone, I do, because it's about respecting people's time. We talked about that in the time in that first segment. You want your time to be respected, you got to respect your spouse's time too. Yeah. So I'm in the zone, that becomes an explanation, but it can't be that excuse. You have to say, oh no, I have to stop for 2 seconds to text and say, can you pick up something for dinner tonight? I'm in the zone with something with work. I do it. I know that you probably do it, so that if you need Larry to go, get something, or if both of you decide it's going to be a eating out night, or it's going to be a smoothie night, we're going to have breakfast for dinner, whatever it is.
Hello, make it work.
Exactly. Whatever it is that makes that convenient. But again, it always goes back to the foundation of, are you communicating it? Because it feels disrespectful. See, that's the underlying thing. You feel like, oh, so you nagging me. You don't understand how I'm in the zone and how I feel about this. And you're like, you haven't really been able to compartmentalize the work, because you're just saying, oh, it's just spilling into the time where my family's just hungry. And I didn't communicate anything about it, and it's okay to be in the zone. But you have to still communicate with your spouse, because you want to be respected, and you want to know that you're respecting your spouse, and they need to know that too. And so that's really key. You know what I mean? The text message goes a long way. Take 2 seconds to send a text message, So it all goes back to the communication,
It really does. And I was just sitting here listening to you, and I was thinking for 2 seconds, everybody's, marriage dynamic is different, but I've always, and part of it has to do with my roots. I was raised, Christian, the man is the head of the home, and other spiritual doctrines say the same thing, but I felt that in my heart and my spirit. It's not just because it's words on paper. So my husband has always felt like he's the king, of his castle. So when everybody knows that Pocky's home. And what did Poppy say? Because that's what matters. And even though I've, given a lot of positive reports about me being willing to be open and vocal because I'm naturally a communicator. Oh, there were those times though where I still didn't do a good job. And for me, here's the litmus test. For me, it was, I'm not one of your clients. I used to hear that one. I'm like, wait, I'm not trying to be your client. Why are you not respecting that this is what I do? I just see stuff and I do mindset and I understand this, and what's a deeper rooted thing that's going on with you.
Don't coach me.
and that would be his next thing. Don't coach me.
Yeah.
And I was off. And that's the question, ladies. How often do you get that? Do you get those kind of comments, especially if you're an entrepreneur and you're listening and you're in the coaching arena? Does your husband still feel like a husband, like a king, when you're laying whatever these demands that you want on him? You got your boss hat on when you're running your business. But at the end of the day, I'm not going to say that women want to be Cinderellas. I ain't never been a Cinderella person because I'm a tomboyish girl, I can, save myself, so to speak, but I ain't trying to be funny. Ain't nothing like being in my strong man's arms and feeling like he has me to whatever capacity that is. And when you are so strong and so bossy and so on fire, where do you leave him room to feel like a man?
Yeah. Yes. And for some women, and you need to see if self-select if this is you. For some women, it's about, I haven't really had the conversation about the fact that you said, you said, because you know, I slowed it down, you know, it's coming. I really haven't had the conversation around, I'm not comfortable with the position that I have fallen into or that I play, the role that I play in our marriage.
No.
Maybe you feel more like a maid than a wife. You don't feel appreciated. You don't feel heard. You feel dismissed. And so you haven't talked about any of these things. And you've up-leveled your boss mindset. And you are a boss and a beast in your business. And it feels good. So when home comes into home, even if you're already physically home, but when home comes together, it's like, well, this is the position I feel good in. And so when that's threatened, or like, you just care about your business, or you're trying to coach me, it's like, well, you're just upset because now I have a position where I'm, you're feeling like I'm being too, on top, or, I'm a boss, and that makes you uncomfortable. And so you have to deal with your insecurities. Now that may or may not be true. Right. But again, we talked last week about looking in the mirror, because all you can control is yourself. You have to say, hold up, have I expressed it in the marriage? I'm uncomfortable with that position, because if I'm doing the things and I haven't said anything, you can't have certain expectations without any explanation.
Absolutely.
Come on now. Like, you were supposed to do it. Well, I didn't even know that was on the table. That was an issue. You know how many people and ladies and wives that respond to something that hasn't even happened? It's like, you have expectations, right? You know what I'm talking about. And you respond to the expectation. They don't even know what's going on. And they're like, why are you mad? They're very confused. That's why you're so upset.
Because I already know. Because this didn't happen. This is going to happen, and that's going to happen. And when that happens, then all hell is going to break loose. And it's like.
Exactly. But, so you've already done that, right? And so when you start to play with positions and roles, and I'm going to put out the P word, but that seems like that'd be a whole other, conversation, whole other podcast. When you start talking about power dynamics in your marriage and what you're comfortable with and what you're uncomfortable with, if you haven't dealt with that, when you start to have a boss mindset in your business, it starts to seep in, and all of that stuff that you haven't said from your marriage starts to come up to the surface. And now the dynamics really start to show themselves.
Absolutely. And the bottom line is, as we touched this on the last episode too, is that if certain things haven't already been defined, then you can't all of a sudden decide to define them once you become an entrepreneur. So if you weren't defined as a person and you didn't have high self-esteem and confidence and all of that stuff beforehand, you having this position as an entrepreneur, it doesn't really mean that that's what you have now. You have something that's a facade, because the thing about it is, who you are personally is who you are professionally. And but what happens is certain atmospheres allow us to make it look like it. But I always say, if you want to know somebody, live with them. We've heard that. Go ahead and be with your best friend, your girlfriend. Let it be your roommate. She'd be like, oh, girl, no, I didn't know that when you came on that you didn't know how to discard of yourself properly. Do you really not change your towels that often? You go to bed with dirt dishes in the sink? Oh, okay. I can't live with you, boo. The craziest things, they get on your nerves. And so the people that you work with in your business, you don't know them like you think you know them, no matter how close or how tight you are. But if what you're doing in your business cannot transcend into your household, that where somebody lives with you, where the real you is showing up, you got to look in the mirror. And I know to some degree, some of you ladies might be like, wait a minute. Well, I keep listening to all these episodes and y'all keep on saying them PR words. Even in the first two, we didn't say it, but we alluded to personal responsibility. No, we didn't ask you here to beat you up, but we want you to understand the power that you do have and the responsibility that you have. And I just wanted to mention, one other thing. You said something earlier about, even if what you have to say is a fact about the other spouse having, insecurity issues or something like that. As a person who is a coach who will call you out on your shit at any given moment, there's still a time and a place and a way to do it.
Yes.
And I don't make a habit of just saying, oh yeah, by the way, I just want you to know that you are whatever it is that you are.
Yeah.
I talk people through it. It's
Yeah.
it's in certain atmospheres. I mean, honestly, think about it. Does it sound good to say to your spouse, you know what, you got insecurity issues and you can't handle the fact that I got power? You know good and doggone well that that's a blow below the belt. Because if they said to you, no, really what it is that you acting like you got power because you got insecurity issues that's the size of them stretch marks, you'd be like, what?
Yeah.
Ooh, and then that's when it gets ugly. So
Yeah.
even if you know a truth, you don't heal a marriage and you don't go to the next level if the way that you communicate about it is to throw it up in your partner's face.
Right. And can I
Come on.
and just piggybacking off of that, when you are, because I have a whole thing about this, but I'm gonna condense it real quick to the nugget. But when you're communicating with your spouse about something that's uncomfortable, something like that, you need to start with yourself. Because if let's think you have a potential situation that could go left. If you start with yourself and say, you know what, first from last week, you have to recognize what's going on. But if you start with yourself and say, you know what, I'm not really leaving work at work. I feel like I feel really good in this position, but I'm realizing it might come from a place that we need to have, maybe discuss. Like, I didn't realize it was coming from this particular place for me. And have the conversation and start the conversation as opposed to the you. Because as soon as that happens, even if it happens to you, like you said, people go into defense mode. They go into,
Yes.
argument. You're talking about something that's not even really what you started out talking about and the topic that you're trying to really delve into. And so start with yourself. It's not comfortable. If somebody came to you, if you had a disagreement and Larry came to you and said, you know what, I said something and that wasn't the most respectful way to say that, my bad. What you gonna say? You know what I mean? Like, you're not gonna come with anything else. Suddenly the walls and the defenses are broken down because they've already come with, like you said, that personal responsibility. And now you've opened up the opportunity for your spouse to freely feel comfortable to say that too, instead of feeling like they have to defend themselves because you didn't give them anything to have to defend themselves against. And so I'm glad that you mentioned that. So just kind of a small part is to start with you.
No, absolutely. And so just to make sure that everybody's still connecting the dots, because we go on tangents, we segue a little bit, but it's still all coming back to the same thing. The point is, we talked about not changing your home into a business, even though you work from home, and not having this employee level mindset conversation, with your spouse. What you're hearing from us is not having a domineering presence, not speaking with a condescending tone, not having that boss, what does a boss look like versus what does a wife look like? Because when you think about talking to a spouse like an employee, for those of you that have, you're not connecting the dots. Well, how did your boss talk to you when you got that first job, when you worked in the clothing department, or you worked in fast food, or you had that little teller position at a bank, or maybe your first job was something better than that, but still, when you didn't have an upper level management position, and even if you did, who was the upper level before you got all the way up there to VPs and CEOs, your alphabet soup? How were you talked to? What were the expectations? Right. It's like, this is what needs to be done. Here's your task list for the day. You work 8 to 5, get it done, go on about your business. There's no intimacy in that. When you're just delegating, it's bullet points, it's things to do. So when we say don't talk to your spouse like an employee, are you coming at them in a domineering fashion? Because you can get what you want. You can get it painfully, or you can get it, painlessly.
Mm-hmm. And it's not to be confused with strength, ladies. You are strong. You know what I mean? That strength it comes in many, has many faces, and you wear them all. Some of us wear them physically on our bodies from, pushing out life. But so it's not, I just want to, and I know, August, you agree with me. It's not saying that you're not strong, that you haven't stepped into what lights you up, what lifts you, what makes you feel good and confident. But there's a difference between that strength and wielding that strength as if it's something to use as a control factor, right?
Absolutely.
And so that's when it gets to a different place, right? You're talking about that domineering. That's when it's like something else. And so be strong, ladies, and there's strength in working with someone that you've chosen to go through life with as a partner, and not as for lack of a better word, and because I like alliteration, I'm going to say, a pawn. But ultimately, you don't want to have that kind of dynamic. So if that's the case, then really step into your strength in all facets, as a business owner, as a wife, as a mother, as a woman, and know that you're yin and yang when you get married. And there's a wholeness in that. And so you want your marriage to feel whole.
No, absolutely. And I was just sitting here while I was listening to you and just thinking about how much more strength it has taken to be quiet sometimes. How much strength it is to, and this is what I'm saying. We have to do so many more segments, because we can't just keep going down a slippery slope. But for instance, I know that my husband is a processor. And not always, but most men are, women, but I just want to tell you that this
right now,
we're 10 things and we just need to resolve this. And you're not even understanding that he's sitting here like, I'm still on number 2. And you asking him about number 10, it's too much. And there have been times where, and over the years, I'll be like, okay, you know what? I'm not even going to say anything. And if you just really trust your spouse, if you really trust the fact that they love you, if you really trust the fact that they have your back, they'll come and say, I was just thinking the other day, and maybe I could have done this, that, and the other, but my thing is what happens with us. And this is having a boss mindset, like you gotta answer to me, talking to your spouse like an employee, where it's like, this is the issue I have. I'm gonna need you to come into my office right now. We're gonna talk about this. Here goes points 1 through 10, and I'm gonna need you to fix that, or otherwise I'm gonna write you up and you're gonna get fired. And you want it fixed right then and there, and it doesn't get fixed right then and there, because the reality hits that it's not your employee. And so the two bosses start bumping heads, and you don't want to hug, you don't want to touch, you don't want to be bothered, you're doing a silent treatment, you're walking past each other, and nothing is resolved. Right. Versus feeling some kind of way and either not mentioning anything at all, or mentioning it from a place of peace, and then having to be nervous or on eggshells or a little bit uncomfortable for maybe 72 hours for him to process it and then come back to you and say, okay, I see it now. I figured it out, and I got this, and to be honest with you, even though we're not going to change this to treat your spouse like an employee, the best bosses understand they can't do everything, and they leave leeway for their employees to expand by letting them grow and go through challenges. And from that perspective, you have to realize that there are two different people, two different sets of values, coming from different types of upbringing, being raised to communicate in different ways. You have to allow your spouse the leeway to be them. But when you have a boss mentality, you're having a tendency to say, this is my company, this is my criteria, this is the way that I'm supposed to be. But that's not what it was when you said I do. You guys said that you committed to each other. And so you really can't do that. So why is it? Why do you think that some women go, well, no, you technically already answered that, but I'm still asking, why do you think some women really go there and have such resistance to separating the two? And
I think in large part it is that this is the, this is my, position. This is something, this is my baby over here. And I don't, you're not going to threaten my baby. You know what I mean? I'm coming as, almost like a mama bear kind of thing with my business, in the same way with my spouse, as if they're attacking. And man, when it comes to conflict, resolving conflict with married couples, they did the study, which I thought was interesting, about how our bodies respond when we're about to say something uncomfortable. And there's like fear around it. There's this like, oh, I feel like I'm being attacked. So I'm going to pounce first, like offense, defense, all of those sports and war analogies. And it's like, are you on the battlefield or is this your marriage? Right. And so that's one of the main reasons why you don't want to do that. But it can feel like, I don't want you to, and this is why that support segment is going to be so important, but I don't want you to attack what I've built here. You're not going to come and attack it. And sometimes feeling personally attacked because you are your business, it feels like you are attacking what I built here. And so I'm coming for you. You know what I mean? And I'm going to remind you that this is what I've built. And so you need to come down off of it, and I'm going to thwart the attack. And so when you feel that way, and that's just kind of another layer to what we talked about earlier about positioning. When you feel that way, you're going to have the conflict, and you're just going to clash exactly like you said, that's going to happen. And you don't want that to be the case, and I don't think anyone here wants that, right? Because it's an uncomfortable place to be with your spouse.
Yeah, no, I don't want to feel like I'm on the battlefield. Not with the man that I love. That's the more romantic side of things. I mean, how many of you ladies even just sit back and say to yourselves, you know what? I married him because I love him.
Mm-hmm.
I love what I knew we were capable of creating together.
Yeah.
I love what we've created together. And surrendering sometimes is just literally just one of the hardest things to do. But the question is it worth it?
Right.
Is the win of the petty argument? Is the win of the petty argument worth it?
Right.
Oh, well, August is not petty. Okay, well, is the win of the major argument? You know how they say that you should lose the battle, win the war? I don't want us to think about it as a war zone, period, but it's a small battle.
Right.
Let it go.
Ooh, I'm like, that's a whole other thing too. The vocabulary that we use to talk about marriages feeds into that. We talk about, battles, and there's songs about the ball and chain, and there's, and all of these, we were fighting, you know what I mean? We won, you lost. Like, nobody won. You both right.
You both lost. Because if my husband ain't right, I'm not right. If I ain't right, you ain't right.
Exactly. Yeah. And it's, and you said about that part, it really hit me, and it reminded me of a conversation I had with someone, a potential client, and about, do you just say, hey, I love him. I married my spouse because I love him. And I remember having to ask this particular woman, do you love him? Because we had been on the phone for a little bit, and she was very strategic. She a lawyer, what she was saying, like, it was very contractual almost. And I mentioned this to her because it was like, all right, I did mine. When we got married, I said I was going to do 1, 2, and 3. I did 1, 2, and 3. I did my part. My part of the contract was fulfilled. And you said literally, this is the conversation, but you didn't do X, Y, and Z. You only did a little bit of A. And so I feel like I got gypped. You didn't hold up your end of the bargain. This is the vernacular being used. And, and this is how the conversation kind of ensued. And I just, eventually I had to ask, I said, okay, I just want you to notice, do you notice that you're speaking about this really methodically and very contractually? And, she took a minute and she thought about it, and she said, yeah, I see that. But, and then she kind of defended herself, but that's another story. Cause even to me, cause we don't want to seem like we're saying anything, wrong.
Right.
It isn't, it's just real. I just want you to notice. And I said, so I have to then ask, this is what I'm being led to ask. Do you love your husband?
Or was it just an agreement?
Right. Because this is how it has not come up, even any conversation, because it doesn't have to be love conversations about care or, I love him, or, I really care about him and I know that he could do better. So that kind of conversation you still pick up on as, okay, yes, care and love. Right. But none of that was there. And so I had to ask. And so for some ladies out there, you might be thinking so much about kind of how to deal and how this is going to go that you're not thinking about what you just said was like, okay, woosah, I love this person. And what does that mean? Does that mean that we're going for resolution? Is it about me winning? Because you don't get, $1,000. You don't get to pass go. You don't get, you don't get a new crock pot, or win a car. There's nothing you get.
You don't win.
Exactly. And so are you going towards resolution? Is that really what you're doing with this person that you love? And if that's the goal, you ain't gonna get there the way that you're getting there or trying to get there. You have to say, all right, I love this person. Resolution is the goal. And all of these things we talked about, personal responsibility, ego checking, communicating, they have to come into play, and they have to consistently come into play.
Absolutely.
Give yourself some grace. I always say that. It's not gonna, boop, and I did it. This is not I Dream of Jeannie. Nobody's granting wishes, and it just happened. But
go ahead. I'm going to
go ahead.
Now, I was going to say, and I'm just listening to you, and I'm thinking to myself about all of the people that need your help for one reason and one reason only, is because they don't even know what a healthy marriage looks like, because they were never taught. Yeah. What I hear, with me saying it in my mindset interpretation, is I hear an individual who has unrealistic expectations for a relationship.
Absolutely.
And so what happens with a lot of people is, if you've had a lot of poor relationships where you didn't get what you wanted, when you know that you're going to put it on the line, like commit for an extended period of time, supposed to be until you die, then you're like, okay, well, I'm not going to have any other relationships like what I had before. And to make sure that I don't have the ones like I had before, my relationships going forward with a person that I have no control over, it looks like this, and they need to do this, 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 and this. And because I'm never going to let all of these things happen again, these things have to happen. And that's actually seeking perfection. Right. And because you've got your contract, because you've got your bullet points of the things that your spouse is supposed to do, when they fail at you, like, but they failed at this one, and this one was just like the most important one. You're saying that you wanted your spouse to be perfect, because and I ain't even trying to be funny. It could have been the other one, but this one was really important, and
it's like going to a job evaluation, right? When you get evaluated every year.
Yeah. So by the way, you're not eligible for a raise this year. Thank you very much for your time. That's a really, I hope that really painted a picture for people. Okay. So, the question is, should you have expectations about how you run your house with your husband as an entrepreneur? We're talking about not treating them like an employee. Let's kind of transition, only because we're, at the sake of time. Is it okay to have expectations, Imani?
Good question. There has to be, these kind of budgets. There has to be, like we talked about, that grace, because you're constantly evolving and adjusting, right? And so as you evolve as an individual, as a business owner, as a woman, as a wife and a mother, your spouse is evolving as, a husband and in their career, etc. And your marriage needs to evolve as well. And so that you have these three entities, and they're not always going to evolve at the same time.
Yes.
You have to have some grace, because things are going to slip up. And what we tend to do is we say, okay, and I'm just using numbers just for the visual. So for 8 times you were doing great with this. And then on time 9, you jacked up, and then you start to go in on time 9. Like, for 8 times we got it. You had it. We were good.
Right.
So, Wusa, have some grace when it comes to this, because you guys can tell I don't use pick your battles, just because I strive not to use, warlike vocabulary.
Yeah.
Do the same. Yeah. Try. But ultimately, you want to be able to say, if we're going to have expectations, we're coming up with it together. And then when it's time to adjust and things are shifting, we're checking in with each other like airline flights. Okay, you gotta check in.
That's the whole segment. That's the whole segment right there. You just surmised everything. The way you make sure that you're not treating your spouse like an employee is to stop coming out the gate, shooting at the hip, having expectations, and setting expectations together. Ladies, how many of you have gone through the transition, and prior to going through the transition said, hey, let's talk so that we can prepare for the road that we have ahead of us. It makes a big difference. Imani brought it up really briefly about my transition from leaving out of Houston, and me and my husband having to be on the same page about what's the next best move for us. And I didn't come and say, well, this is what I think we should do. And because I have my company and I work online and I can go anywhere, this is the way we're going to do it. And this is the way we're going to go. It was like, hey, babe, what do you think? How do you feel? Where do you want to go? And it's amazing the level of synergy that comes when he's saying something over there and I was saying something over here, but we were both saying the same thing. You know, you want that cute relationship. You want that adorable relationship where you in the room and somebody say something and both of y'all say what at the same time. When you just like so on point that it's like don't say what I'm gonna say. But you can't get that level of chemistry and that level of harmony in your relationship and that level of attraction because you all don't know each other. Yeah. I know Mr. Crenshaw. I know Mr. Crenshaw so well that I can feel if I should pick up his phone and send him a text message. I used to do this. And this is something that you've done. And I'm going to, before we get ready to get out of here, I remember when you used to do a free group and you were like saying, send compliments and stuff like that. And I just thought that was so beautiful because during that season, especially, my husband was working 12, 13, 14 hours doing grueling work. Was he making good money? Yes. Was he holding it down while my business was making no money? Yes. And you know what? Sometimes I would just send him a message and say, baby, don't you ever forget. Your wife is sitting here knowing that you're going hard for us to have everything that we have. Send them hearts, send them kisses, send a picture, with me smiling. And he would come home and his whole disposition would just be like, yes, just feeling appreciated. So we know each other. We talk, we communicate. And so there are a lot of things that we get to thinking. And if I'm confused and he confused and I'm thinking and he thinking, we'd be like, that's all right, just let it go. We'll come back to it. We ain't supposed to move until we both feel the same energy and the surge together. That's what you guys want in your relationship. Yes. But if you're setting the expectations instead of building them together, you'll never feel it.
Oh, you're missing out. And I know you think it's a fluke, but if I didn't think I would be out of the frame, I would stand up. Like I just can't take it because I know what you're talking about. And it almost brings tears to my eyes.
Girl, I was fighting mine too.
Because and this happened the other day. My husband, he said, and I was like, boy, you better know what I'm saying before I say it. I mean, literally, he was like cracking up with me because I'm just like that. But I'm like, we literally say, and I know people are like, dad, but we'll say the same thing at the same time and just look at each other. But there's a connect because we worked for this. It didn't just pop out like this. We have worked towards this. We have evolved towards this. And so that is possible for you. And some of you don't think it is, but it is. And so, yes, I
saw you and I was just like, and that made me almost want to cry more. Yeah, we a little mushy. But it's the truth. And you need to know that it's possible. And you need to know that it's real. You're listening to two women, not to say that there's anything wrong with this, but what we just said is that we ain't outside wearing matching outfits, but we inside with matching spirits. I want the matching spirits as opposed to going outside with the matching outfits looking like y'all okay, but you're going to cuss each other out when you go home. I'm just saying, not that everybody that wear matching outfits do that, but it was the first analogy that popped in my head.
But it hits home, man.
It does.
I love that matching spirit. It's so true. And it's something, oh man, it's just, all I can say is it's possible,
It is. So you guys, look, I don't want us to wind down. I really, really don't. There's only so many hours in a day. I know these segments have been on fire with you guys, and I've already put it out there. Let's give the people what they want. We're waiting on, your questions. What do you want to bring to the table? I am literally going to spend some time having a powwow. I mean, like literally, I think we should get together and sit down and schedule about an hour and a half meeting and maybe even make a calendar schedule to say, what does this look like? Because this right here, so many things almost came out of this segment that could have just went. We have about like 4 or 5 different topics But
Yeah,
we
I
could have
agree.
went you the power topic, and we're like, oh, we can do this one. We can do language. Is it the battlefield or not? And I'm like, oh, topic. I wanted my pen out so I could be writing. Okay, the next episode gonna be this and that. And I,
Yeah.
I want to take it there because this is something critical, ladies. This is not going to go anywhere. In two episodes is not going to clear it up for you, but it can definitely help you get in the right headspace. So Imani, I want to
Yes.
thank you for being here. Talk to the people. Let them know how they stay in contact with you. If you have anything in addition for them that you haven't already mentioned on the previous episodes on the website, fire away, because I know they want to stay connected. I know they do.
Thank you so much, August. This has been really, really fun, and we're both so passionate. It's just like it just fills the space because we love what we do, but we also love our spouses, and it's a big part of it for us. And so I'm so glad we can meet at this place where what both of us do, kind of marry each other.
Yes.
So thank you so much for having me. Ladies, thank you so much for listening and taking your time. We appreciate that so much. I appreciate your time so much. And yes, I mean, just for each segment, get on your time, get that guide to help you with your time. If you're serious and you want to book a clarity session with me and get on the phone about what's really going on with you, August has my questionnaire for that, as it is available, because I know this podcast will be airing at different times and span the test of time.
Yes.
And so make sure that you click those links, that you stay connected with us. You can find me, Imani Aisha, on Facebook and Instagram. And but yes, keep the train moving. You don't have to just date us once, or in this case 4 times. You can go on a first date, if you want to, and reach out to August on the website and even on the YouTube channel, and stay connected, ladies. Stay connected. And I look forward to that. I feel the synergy. I hope you guys feel it.
Yes, because we over here, we like, whoo, we gotta do something.
I'm gonna need a glass of water or something after this. So
yeah, I am too. I'm ecstatic and I'm hot because I know when I can feel something in my spirit. And me, when I think and I feel, I go. I don't hesitate. I divine inspiration. I know that it's setting the stage for something even greater. So you guys, like we already said, if this is your first episode listening to Imani Aisha, you got to go back. This is the culmination of it all for right now until we bring it back. We're going to see what 2018 has for she and I going in the future and how we're going to map out this schedule. This is going to be an awesome, super, mega, beautiful thing. Go to the website, realwomendon'tbitchpodcast.com. Connect with us, connect with her, get those goodies. Don't sleep on your marriage. It's not going to heal overnight. It's not going to heal on its own. Recognize the problem, get the help you need. I'm getting out of here. I'm coming back with some more powerful episodes. Until then, deuces. Thank you for joining me today. Remember to cultivate a mindset that is biased towards taking action. No bitching, whining, or complaining. Here, our mantra is, real women don't bitch, we get shit done. See you next week as I continue to bring you what you need to keep your head in the game and beast your business. Don't forget to hit subscribe and leave us a 5-star review. Would you like a specific topic covered? Have a question you would like answered live? Then head on over to realwomendon'tbitchpodcast.com. Subscribe to my email list, hit me up, and I got you. Interested in being a guest speaker? You walk the walk? Then you can sign up on the website too. This is your #1 advanced mental conditioning specialist for entrepreneurs, Mrs. Raw, Real, and Relentless. Signing out. Deuces.
Inspire, empower, grab your girls and soar a little higher. Unlock the fire in you.